All right. Well, welcome back. My name again is Phil Gervasi, technical evangelist with Riverbed, here to give us some closure to our troubleshooting session today. We did a lot. We stepped through quite a bit. We started with Portal. We went to Eternity. We went to NetIM or NetFlow. I'm sorry, Net Profiler, looking at NetFlow, then to NetIM, then to App Response. And again, it might feel like we looked at several different point solutions individually, but keep in mind that we did start with Portal, where we may have been able to solve this problem right from the beginning. Ultimately, though, we wanted to show you step by step how deep and wide our visibility solution is from the client to the cloud and everywhere in between. Now, we didn't touch everything that we could possibly do because of the limits of time, but ultimately that was the goal today. So I'd like to show you a quick, there we go. A quick image here that kind of shows you our philosophy at Riverbed and why we do what we do. You can see on the left side of your screen, on the right side of your screen, we have some screen grabs from our security camera in the parking garage. There's nothing necessarily out of place, but we do see some information. Wow, we see a little bit more now. We have a little bit higher fidelity, if you will. We see, oh, there's somebody at the car. What does that mean? I don't know. There's very little context here. We keep adding data points and information. Now we see the full picture. You see, we have a person coming down the stairs. They're operating at the car there. You see they're in the back of the car with a backpack, and in that right screen, now that we have the context, you can actually catch the person's legs. They're walking away. Some kind of a theft occurred. And that's what we're doing, is providing the visibility from the client to the cloud with the greatest depth and breadth that we can absolutely do based on all of these tools and metrics that we're able to gather together into one place. So here we have our rentalapp.steeldemo.cloud website up and running now that we found that it was DNS. And apparently load balancing was configured wrong. Yes, the website was resolving. That's good. So we were able to muddle through. But ultimately, there was a misconfiguration in AWS, and I assume that we replicate with our internal DNS or vice versa. So from one network engineer to all my fellow network engineers, I'd like to share something with you now from my heart that I think is both relevant to this presentation and also, comes out of my experience as a literature teacher. I'd like to read you a poem. It's not DNS. There's no way it's DNS. It was DNS. Thanks very much.
I want to start off by saying I appreciate the in-depth scenario and going through all the tools and explaining what each tool does. But I kind of want to step back and tie it all together. So we went through Portal, Eternity, Net Profiler, NetIM, and App Response. I know not all customers are created equal, but from a high level, can you kind of step back and give us your opinion on which IT ops team each tool is guided at? I'm guessing Portal is kind of that first level support. Can you kind of step through each?
Sure. Yeah, and I think, and Tim, I say the question goes a little deeper even than just that, right? So I think that, I can explain, obviously, we see Portal generally being used as the central display in the network operations center. We see the obviously John demonstrated the Eternity tool. We see that used anywhere from L3, L4, all the way to L2, L1, but generally on the application and essentially DEM operators. The networking tools, Net Profiler and App Response, we see those generally used by the most skilled network operators out there, right? So we try to hit every operator in the stack that way. Obviously, I think you caught on fairly quickly what was ultimately going wrong, but because we wanted to show off tools at all these different levels, NetIM is of course an infrastructure tool. We wanted to show tools at all these levels. We went ahead and we kind of strung you along on something that probably wouldn't have taken 2 hours for somebody to troubleshoot. But this way we could kind of demonstrate the different angles, right? And the power of what we're trying to tell here is that when we see our operators work our tools, generally what they're doing is they're trying to get visibility from different angles. Because one thing that helps in visibility is different angles. You troubleshoot faster because you get a different light on things. Now, this ties right back to where Riverbed's thinking is, right? We have all these different data sources, and often there's data sources, like I snuck in there at the end of the demo, some, the AWS CloudWatch dashboard there, right? Like CPU usage on the server side. Can we bring all of this together in one way so that troubleshooting workflow takes even fewer clicks, right? And that's really the mission that Riverbed is on, in that regard. And then, but that wouldn't have made for a very interesting demo if we'd stopped there, though. Any of my Riverbed friends want to add more color to that?
Yeah, I would just like to add is that, it's different tools for different jobs. So obviously we have people who wear more, so obviously on my side, on the attorney side, you have end user computing people. So like a level 1 EUC might be a little different than level 1 network, obviously. So there are people who definitely are more interested in packets and flows. Some people are more interested in, help me understand how the users are doing. But at the end of the day, the business as a whole needs those sort of various perspectives, high level with the ability to drill down and ultimately solve problems. What I tend to find, though, is that Portal tends to be that layer that unifies the perspectives. And so what we tend to see is that the experts say, these are the things that we should be looking at. And those things get elevated to Portal to be consumed by a larger set of audiences. So Portal tends to be more at a glance with a little bit of investigation. There's some higher level drill down. And then for the people who say, okay, there is absolutely a problem, we need to solve it, let's roll up our sleeves. Then from Portal, you have a very contextual drill down into the individual tools. So you saw there was a lot of manual kind of like IPs being passed around between the respective demos. In the real world, what would tend to happen is that through Portal, when we would find the hints as to, for example, an IP, Portal would lead you to one of the tools with that context in hand. There'd be no note paper involved, right? So this was somewhat of an elaborate demo, because in the real world it tends to be start at Portal, branch to one place, solve problem, right? And that's usually the way it works. And you wouldn't have all of our teams involved in one shot.
And also,
but then we wouldn't have been able to show you all of our tools.
Exactly.
One thing is what we did not show, because we wanted to, have a few different faces here for you, is that most of our tools have right-click menus that take you to the other tool, right? Like you go from, I'm in Eternity and now I want to see the packets, boom, now I'm in app response, right? So, we kind of skipped over those workflows in the interest of being able to give a bigger demo there. But the typical operator would use those pivot menus.
All right.
Good to know. Thank you.
Just to be clear, then, from Portal, I could get into any one of the tools that you demoed without having to open up a new window.
Correct,
essentially.
sir.
Well, it'll open up a tab, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
That's correct.
Okay.
Something to keep an eye out where we're headed as a company. We're basically going to the next level with this idea of Portal, where we are, Portal's great to have those dashboards to get the important metrics and the at a glance that John mentioned. But ultimately, we want to go beyond that, because now we have all these data points, and rather than rely on a human being's eyes to sort of hopefully be able to find some correlation quickly and easily, remember the goal is to find the resolution as quickly as possible. So we want to be able to correlate those things. So we're heading down a path right now where we're going to the next level with this, again, this idea of Portal to add that kind of intelligent correlation and other intelligent components to further unify all these tools, which again, I do understand sometimes feel like point solutions into one true solution.